development in different languages, and it's also linked with growth or progress in a way. And then the question is like, is there a limit to a growth? So because we always talk about development, we always talk about progress. Can we grow forever? So what is the limits of growth? Can we grow unlimitedly, or can we continue growing? So when you talk about limits of growth, so two things comes in my mind. The first one is like the book from Rachel Carson, in 1962, Silent Spring. Have someone read this book or heard about this book? So let's talk about the Silent Spring for now. In Thailand, I was told that there is only two climate. Now, one is hot and another is very hot. So is there any so it's more like a tropical country? So maybe we can't distinguish that more. But in terms of spring, like what is the feature of a spring? In the spring, what happens? Especially the gray environment, like a gray trees start blooming, it becomes more greener, and then birds start singing. So that's normally how it starts. In the tropical countries where it's evergreen, we can hear the birds singing all around the year. So that's not a problem. But in a temperate region, what happens is like after winter, which is more like a dark and gray, where trees doesn't have leaves and so on. Then slowly, when the spring starts, birds also starts with the warm weather. Birds also start singing and so on. I remember, like I have read this book, but not recently, many years back. So if I remember correctly, so this book is about how Rachel find the spring quite silent when she go back home, after certain years. And this is linked to like and like why the spring is so silent. Where are all the birds gone? And then here the issue of the loss of biodiversity is linked to agricultural practices, from industrialized agricultural practices with a lot of agrochemicals, pesticides, and so on. And this was linked to decrease in biodiversity or agrobiodiversity, decrease with the bird population. And this is one of the very first alarming book that was published 60 years ago. This is 2023. 60 years ago, saying that, okay, look, we are not doing good to nature. Our spring has been quite silent because of our intensive agriculture practices. And this book was taken as quite alarming book in terms of whole debate. In 1972, the Club of Rome, like there are a lot of meadows here, so Club of Rome published a book called Limit to the Growth, which was also one of the very influential book. And if you have some time, definitely I would recommend to have a look on this book. I have also read this book, and it's really an interesting thing, because this is one of the initial studies that use computer model to predict the human future. Now we have like a very sophisticated model available at different resolution, but here the modeling was done, if I remember correctly, at the global scale, and it shows that yes, we can grow for some time, but not continuously forever, because we can see here, like there is a growth on the per capita food, there is a growth on population. At the meantime, there is also a growth on industrial outputs, but also there is a growth on pollution. And what we can see here is that, like on the course of time, there is also a decrease on resources. And what this book is trying to draw is that there is a limit to our growth. If we continue to grow using resources as we are using now, it cannot sustain the human population in a long run. So that's one of the main messages. And this was done. This was the study based on a computer model, and surprisingly, that some of the prediction are not projections, they made in 1970s are still valid. And Club of Rome has also published a new book this year, more towards the solutions. So if you have some time, you can also look at Club of Rome's and their publication list. So this is one of the very starting phase of discussion of, like, we need to limit the growth and we have to think more on a sustainable way. So growth could not be like we can grow forever, at least in terms of consumption, in terms of, let's say, in terms of consumption. So we can't keep on consuming and depleting our resources forever. Otherwise, it will harm ourselves as a human population. On this context, so there are also few key international events that happened in last decades, which was quite an instrument, quite a foundation for the agenda of sustainable development. One of them, or the very first summit, was on human environment, was in 1972. I guess 50 years ago in Stockholm, where there was the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment, and this was one of the very first international or UN level conference which put environment in the picture of human development. And 20 year and then there is also this publication, or the report on our common future, which also talks about sustainable development, and from where the famous definition of sustainable development comes from. And then we do also have in 1992, there is this Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, which also provided a lot of, let's say, key institutions or guidance for overall sustainable development of humankind. For example, it's also known as the Earth Summit. And during this Earth Summit, a lot of things has happened. So you can look at internet to look to see what are the big achievements made during this summit in terms of international agreement, including UNFCCC, this United Nations Conventional for Climate Change, is this convention for biodiversity, CBD, and all this thing happened in this meeting. That's why when we talk about sustainability, we have to also think about global governance is one of the key agenda here, or a key issue here, because there are a lot of global movements that are also talking about sustainability, or providing a general framework on overall sustainability, which is later on taken up by member countries of United Nations at the national or at a local level. So we already see that we are talking about sustainability for at least last 300 years in a conceptual way, mainly in terms of forestry part. There is this thing called sustainability use of resources mentioned. In terms of international negotiations, at least 50 years we talk about sustainability. In terms of academic discourse, so at least 60 years have been gone of discussing sustainability. But when we look at our consumption, what we can see is this great acceleration. Are you aware about this thing called great acceleration, or the concept called great acceleration? What does a great acceleration means? So when you look at this diagram, what things comes in mind? So it is also referred as a hockey stick diagram. So it look like it's also look like a hockey stick now. And here what we see in this diagram is that for the last 300 years now, how world population has developed. That's the very first diagram, and we can see that there was like around less than 2 billion people, with a very slow and steady growth until 1950s now. But afterwards we can see that there is a very sharp increase in human population. And it's not only increase in human population, it's increase in a lot of, like, every indicator of socioeconomic, or every socioeconomic indicator. So we can see like a steep increase in foreign direct investment. A lot of people are now living in cities compared to last centuries, and even now more people lives in cities than in the rural areas. This also holds for primary energy use, water use, land use, transportation, telecommunication, and all this thing. So, and as an impact of this economic trend, or coupled with this economic trend, we can also see that there is also a sharp increase in other socioeconomic trend or other socioeconomic behavior, like carbon dioxide increases, nitrous oxide increases, methane increases, and so on. Like also deforestation issue, use of land for crop production. There are also this issue of like a fishery. Yeah, and an interesting thing here in terms of fishery is like it's not growing, but there are also some like going down, and this down is mainly due to collapse of fishery in some region. Yeah, so because when we go for a very accelerated overconsumption or overharvest fish, there is a risk of collapse of the system here, and that is represented by this marine fishery here. Other interesting thing here would be about this ozone part. Now, so there was this increase in the ozone, but at some point there is also this decrease in the ozone, which is also considered as like a good example of human interventions. Yeah, which says that we managed to we managed to negotiate, or we managed to agree and also implement on reducing ozone pollution. Yeah, mainly leading to ozone hole. And then now there is a new concept called Anthropocene. Yeah, so have you heard about this term Anthropocene? So when you talk about the words like Anthropocene, or the scene in the in at the end, like hello. Yeah, so it's more about, like, it's talking about the geological time, like Holocene. So what we can see here is like human as a single species has a lot of created, or has a huge impact on our earth, not only for last few hundred years, but also in terms of like a geological time period. So that's why we can see in terms of geological recording that human has changed a lot of things of earth system. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, so human induced ecological damages. Yeah, so define the word. Yeah, so it seems like you are defining the word about Anthropocene here now. And here, that's why the scientist has given the word Anthropocene as a new era where human has altered the earth system a lot, and it's mainly not only it's not because of this very huge large scale interventions in the earth system from the nature, but it's coming from the human, and that's it's called human Anthropocenes.